They may not understand our Lord. They may not understand that they're called to an abundant life in Him, right? So we are being human with them. And we may have to do this over and over and over again. Pray, love, invite. Pray, love, invite. And there's times where I've been out on the sidewalk and I'm like, this is time to name drop abortionworker.com. Then other days on the sidewalk, it's like, nope, this is my time to pray and be quiet. I know I don't have perfect discernment this side of heaven, but what I can tell you is that if you put this before God and you invite the Holy Spirit into those conversations, He will show you when you are supposed to speak and when you are supposed to be silent. Well, howdy, everyone, and welcome again to the Laura Musica Show. I'm your host, Laura Musica, attorney and president CEO of Sidewalk Advocates for Life. You know, I thought it was time to brass tacks one of the biggest questions we get here at Sidewalk Advocates for Life, and that is, how have you guys helped to close 70 abortion facilities, at least at this point in your 11-year history? I mean, if it's true that abortion is what it is, the egregious taking of innocent human life, then of course, as a people of faith and conscience, it should be a priority to shut these places down. So it's a great question. Today, I'm going to give you my favorite top 5 ways to close your local facility. And of course, these are all peaceful ways to close facilities because violence is never the answer. I would hope that would go without saying. We're pro-life in all ways, right? And I would say that at one time or another, we have used all 5 of these ways to close an abortion facility, with number 1 and number 2 primarily being the way that our organization does so. Now, on point 3, I'm going to actually clip in my friend Eric Scheidler of Pro-Life Action League. He's going to share his wisdom on that point because it happens to be his particular area of expertise. If you don't yet know Eric, after his father, Joe Scheidler, God rest his soul, founded the Pro-Life Action League in 1980 with the aim of saving unborn children through nonviolent direct action, his son Eric later took over. And under Eric's direction, the Pro-Life Action League has expanded its national leadership role to include coordinating big nationwide events. They have also provided assistance to local pro-life leaders throughout the country in organizing various types of public pro-life witness, among many other things. So I'm so excited for you guys to hear his wisdom in the middle of this broadcast. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and dive in. 5 ways to close your local abortion facility. Number 1, this is the most obvious to those of us who are sidewalk advocates. You're going to go to your local abortion facility and help abortion vulnerable mothers at these facilities by sharing life-affirming alternatives. We know that when we meet a woman at the abortion facility, there's a reason or set of reasons as to why she's there. She's seeing abortion as a possible solution to a perceived crisis, right? And you may also be encountering other types of clients at, for example, a Planned Parenthood facility. A lot of Planned Parenthood facilities across the country don't just do abortions, but they do other things. Now, they have a super low level menu of services. But the idea is you want to get to know your local facility and the types of clients that are going there. And I mean, this is as simple as just going on their website and looking at their menu of services, of their so-called services, right? And then what you're going to do for each one is to find the free or low cost life-affirming alternative for each one of those things. So for example, abortion, right? We're going to want to get her to our local life-affirming pregnancy resource center. These outnumber abortion facilities in the country more than 4 to 1, and they can service a woman's situation. We're the connectors. We're doing crisis intervention. We want to get them into the arms of those who do that ongoing crisis management. And so again, if she's facing an unexpected pregnancy, these facilities, pregnancy resource centers, specialize in triaging her situation, and we want to get her there as soon as possible. And then sometimes a facility will do other things like a woman exam, breast exam, STD, STI testing. There's even a few facilities that will do a super general health screening. Now, what's so ironic is other than STD, STIs, they really can't treat anything in office. Planned Parenthood, again, offers American women and men a super low level of so-called health services. Side note. So for a well woman exam, breast exam, even STD, STI testing in and of itself, not morally problematic. And even then, we want women to take charge of their health. We want them to go get their well woman exams, to do breast exams, right? But their money is going to an abortion facility. And so we can empower these folks to take their business elsewhere, letting them know, first of all, this is an abortion facility. I'm sure you don't want your money going here. Hey, did you know that Dr. Jones does them down the street, does well woman exams down the street for $25 cheaper? Or, this federally qualified health center will see you and they work on a sliding fee scale or sometimes even give free services. And so what that affords you is an opportunity to be like the fairy godmother or godfather of resources in your community. You then serve as the literal gateway to hope and help. So again, go on the website for your local abortion facility and or Planned Parenthood facility. Look at everything that's offered to the community. And for each one, I want you to find the low or no cost life-affirming alternative. And what you'll do is you'll gradually drain that abortion facility of demand, and it will be hard for that facility to stay open. Okay, now, side note, I would really encourage you not to refer for artificial birth control. This is a very common client at a Planned Parenthood facility. But here's my case for not referring for this and actually filling the need in a different way. Birth control in the modern era is artificial birth control is often an abortifacient. One of its mechanisms, quite often, is to thin the lining of the uterus and throw out a newly conceived life. And if we believe that life begins at conception, we don't want to have a hand in that, right? And then quite often we're dealing with a woman. I mean, this is like 98, 99% of the time, we're coming across a woman or a man who's unmarried. And we want to advocate for sexual integrity, for waiting until marriage, for protecting their heart. They don't have to worry about STD, STIs. They don't have to worry about being used. They don't have to worry about unexpected pregnancy, right? I mean, there really is such a case for waiting until marriage. And then for some of us, we're in churches where there are covenantal concerns. I come from a church that believes that that can be a barrier for a married couple really coming together and being open to the gift of life. So, if the client is unmarried, I want to encourage you to plant seeds for sexual integrity. And we teach this in the Sidewalk Advocates for Life training, and really everything I just went over. This is what we do day in and day out, is we teach people to go to facilities and offer loving, life affirming alternatives. So if we can help you with that, knowing what to say, because that's not always the easiest sell. She's going in there for her depot shot or for the birth control pill. The guy's going in there for condoms, right? And so it's like, how do you sell this to a culture that is sold out on sex whenever it wants with whoever they want and with no consequences, supposedly, even though we know that that's not really true. That can feel like a tough sell, but we've got some really good dialogue that we teach our sidewalk advocates to employ in precarious situations like this. And then if they're married, which I would say is about 1% to 2% of the time, most people who are going in there, just because, again, Planned Parenthood cultivates a lifestyle that's not conducive to waiting into marriage, right? But you do encounter folks who are married. I love to give them a solution still, a family planning method like a fertility awareness based model that doesn't risk abortifacient drugs and devices, could cause an early abortion, and then supports communication in marriage and respect in marriage. And so maybe you can give them a pamphlet on natural family planning or point them to a website. If that's not something you've got direct experience with, don't be afraid to just plant a seed and just give them that resource and wish them well, right? So number one here is all about eliminating demand. And it's not hard to do so because Planned Parenthood, quite often you're dealing with a Planned Parenthood facility. They have the greater market share of the abortion empire here. But Planned Parenthood offers like a super low level menu of services. And so it's easy to show your community how they are replaceable, right? And then if you have a facility that just does abortions, you go out there and you love on people and you connect them with resources because we have truth and love and natural law on our side. You will turn many of them away. And you don't need to turn away everybody in order to drain an abortion facility of enough business such that it's hard for them to stay open. Okay, so number one, we are offering loving, life affirming alternatives to those who were servicing the abortion or abortion referral facility, and we're gradually eliminating demand. Number two actually hits the supply side of that abortion facility. And it's all about helping workers leave the industry. If there's no one there to do the abortions, then it's hard for facilities to stay open. And this has actually been done where a facility's been drained of its workers, shut such that it has shut a place down. That has happened through, and then there were none abortion worker ministry working in tandem many times with sidewalk advocates, other peaceful sidewalk counselors. So when you go to an abortion facility and you're not reaching out to clients, then you have an opportunity to reach out to those who are on the sidewalk as escorts or work inside the facility, or, maybe your higher ups that have an office there or whatnot. But the idea here is that no one grows up wanting to work in the abortion industry. Most people who work in the abortion industry have one or more abortions in their past, and it's often a mode of pain and justification that keeps them chained to the industry. Okay. So just knowing that you're working quite often with very wounded individuals. How many people have you talked to where they're like, well, when I grow up, I want to be a veterinarian. Okay. When I grow up, I want to be an astronaut. Okay. When I grow up, I want to be an abortionist. When I grow up, I want to be an abortion doula. Like nobody says that, right? There's almost always a reason why somebody works in this industry. And so, what we need to do, because we're dealing with someone who very often has a lot of trauma in their past, we want to develop a relationship over time. We need to become a safe place for them. And we can plant seeds about our friends, and then there were none, abortion worker ministry, and name drop at different times abortionworker.com. Abortionworker.com. And again, this is a ministry that helps with financial, legal, vocational support services, et cetera, as they transition out of the industry and look to heal. And believe you me, these folks will need healing. They have seen and heard things inside that facility that understandably are traumatizing, because they're taking the lives of innocent children and they're having to see the brokenness before and after that in these women and families, right? The biggest thing that I want you to remember here, the biggest thing that I have learned in helping workers leave the industry, is that conversion often takes time. Someone can have a revelation that maybe they're in the wrong spot, but don't be surprised if it takes them a little bit to actually make the decision to get out of the industry. And this is where prayer is so important. Prayer can move mountains. Sometimes it's only prayer that can change someone's heart, because this is a spiritual battle at its core. We need these folks to know that we love them, that we want to see them saved, right? And maybe we're not using Christianese language like that right up front. And I'm not meaning to demean that message. I'm just saying there's a right time and place for it. To them, it can sound like noise, because they don't understand the gospel. They may not understand our Lord. They may not understand that they're called to an abundant life in Him, right? So we are being human with them. We're trying not to be weird. We're trying to be a safe place. And we're making a periodic invitation to them to leave, because we want so much better for them. God wants so much better for them. And we may have to do this over and over and over again. Pray, love, invite. Pray, love, invite. And there's times where I've been out on the sidewalk and I'm like, this is time to name drop abortionworker.com. Then other days on the sidewalk, it's like, nope, this is my time to pray and be quiet. I know I don't have perfect discernment this side of heaven, but what I can tell you is that if you put this before God and you invite the Holy Spirit into those conversations, He will show you when you are supposed to speak and when you are supposed to be silent. And keep this in mind. Y'all, I have heard this so many times from abortion workers. They say that when we're on the sidewalk and we are planting seeds and we are praying for them, that the times that we feel like very little or even nothing is happening is when there's actually a lot happening on their hearts. There's a lot going on that we cannot see sometimes. One other story that I'll tell real quick is I remember when we went to the closing celebration for the Charlotte, North Carolina facility that Sidewalk Advocates had been present at. There's actually a few facilities in Charlotte, and our Sidewalk Advocates had covered one of those. And there were so many days where they barely saw anything happening with clients and workers. It was a really tough public right of way. They had escorts swarming all around them, trying to engage women in conversation and distract women from taking hope and help and options and resources. They're drawing satanic symbols around their feet. One of them would hold up a sign that said pervert with an arrow and stand next to one of our male advocates. I mean, these people took so much abuse, but they did not give up. And they prayed and they reached out. And so all of a sudden, they noticed one day that the facility has announced its closure. And a couple of us on the national team went and joined them. We made a whole video out of this. You can watch it on YouTube, by the way. And three of the workers, they found out later or actually by the time we got to the closing celebration, that three workers had left and two of them came to the closing celebration, including the manager of that facility. And I still remember the manager of this former manager of this facility saying to all of us that the prayer had affected her so much that there were days that she actually turned away 50% of the so-called abortion business that day. That if she noticed any equivocation with a woman, she would tell them not to do it. And the owner of the facility would come to her and go, Alicia, this is crazy. We had 18 women. What happened? We only have 8. We only have 10. And Alicia would be like, I don't know what happened. So God was at work, even when they could not see it with these workers. And so I just really encourage you, do not give up, because you will reap a harvest if you do not give up. So important. Okay, so this is just good business, right? You hit demand, you hit supply. So that's number 1. That's number 2. And the third thing that I put out there is consider doing an information campaign exposing your local abortion facility. Now, if you're with us at Sidewalk Advocates for Life, this is outside of our mission. So you would have to do this on the side. But one of the best resources for this, for you to do this as a community, is Pro-Life Action League. And so as I noted earlier, I want to go ahead and bring in Eric Scheidler, the executive director of Pro-Life Action League, who actually has 5 excellent subpoints on this idea. So here's his wisdom on this topic.
This is Eric Scheidler, Executive Director of the Pro-Life Action League, and I'm thrilled to be a part of Sidewalk Advocates' effort to help you close down your local abortion facility. I want to offer 5 different ways that we've been able to expose our local abortion facilities to the community, to the police, and to the media. Number 1 is leafleting the neighborhood. We've done this multiple times at different abortion facilities around the Chicago area. Sometimes we'll even have a little goodie bag that we put several different pro-life flyers in, including information about the local abortion facility. Or you can just leaflet door to door. You can put leaflets under the windshields of cars at on the streets or at a local shopping mall that tell the story about this abortion clinic. Simply informing people that there is an abortion clinic in their community can be very disturbing for them. They don't want to think about abortion. They don't want to be around abortion. They don't want abortion in their town. So leafleting the neighborhood, spreading the word door to door, can be a really great way. We also like to carry leaflets with us when we're outside the abortion facility praying or counseling, so we can tell passersby about the place. And you'll often find that there are things people don't know that you can share with them. Many times, especially with Planned Parenthood, abortion facilities will deceive the city council or the planning commission about what their plans are when they're building. That can be something you share with the community. You can talk about the ambulances that have showed up before. Anything you can do to share the dark side of abortion with your community is helpful, and leafleting is a really great way to do that. Another level, number 2, is to step it up and have a community meeting. Again, we've done this multiple times around the Chicago area, where we invite people to come maybe to a church basement or sometimes to a local community center to hear about what's happening. We'll have experts on the harms of abortion come and talk about what abortion does to the relationship between a couple, what it does to teens who get abortions, the medical side effects of abortion, the psychological side effects of abortion. We have a whole expose of abortion in general and of that local facility at this community meeting that we can invite people to, and that becomes an opportunity to recruit people to come and join you praying and sidewalk counseling outside that facility. You can rent out a community space. You have the right to do that as a citizen, even if you are talking about a controversial issue like abortion. And we've had success doing that. And if you ever encounter problems, There are attorneys out there like the Thomas More Society and others who can help you to secure your rights to hold those kinds of meetings. Another type of meeting that we'll do is to go to a city council meeting. We've done this numerous times here in the city of Aurora, Illinois, where Planned Parenthood moved in about 18 years ago, lying to the city council. We had citizens come and talk to the council members about the fraudulent way Planned Parenthood came in there. We had nurses talking about the horrors that they've seen when people get abortions. We had an emergency room physician talk about the botched abortions that she's had to try to save women from, and so on and so forth, sharing the horrible reality of abortion with the city council. Even if there isn't a controversy like there was here in Aurora over deceptive practices by Planned Parenthood, just go into the city council to speak out, especially if you do it in an organized way with several different speakers all together, can be a way to get media attention. Reporters often attend those meetings, even in small towns and suburbs, and so that can be a way to get your message out to the broader community through what we call earned media, when you do something worthwhile of media coverage that they then cover and share your story with the public. A fourth way that we've been able to expose abortion facilities all around the country, including in Chicago, is to hold protests. We'll carry signs that talk about the harm abortion does to women, that talk about moms choosing life, dads choosing life, stop abortion now, that famous stop abortion now sign. Of course, anytime you're going to be protesting near an abortion facility, you have to be very careful never to disrupt the sidewalk counseling activity, or if there's an adjacent pregnancy center, never to disrupt their work reaching out to women who need help to choose life for their babies. So protests, we have a lot of help for you at prolifeaction.org on how to organize protests that will expose the abortion clinic to passersby in their cars, and again, may earn you media coverage that shares your message with the general public. And the fifth, and for us maybe the most important way that you can expose the local abortion facility, is to routinely submit Freedom of Information Act requests with the local 911 service. So here in Aurora, we submit these FOIA is the shorthand term for that. Under federal law, you have the right to certain information the government has. We submit these FOIA requests asking for information about calls that they've received. Sometimes we see an ambulance ourselves and we follow up with a call asking for the records from FOIA. And that's a way that we can really publicize the harms that are coming to women from these abortion facilities. So those are 5 ways: leafleting, community meetings, city council meetings, protests, and FOIA that you can expose your local abortion facility. Good luck with all of your pro-life work, and God bless you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eric. So helpful. All right. Point number 4. You want to make your local pregnancy center famous in your community. So I talked a little bit about this in point number 1, but one thing you can do in some of your spare time is to go to local churches and put flyers or information there about the local pregnancy center. Go to some of these community billboards. You ever gone to your local Starbucks and seen the community billboard, right? Why not put a flyer up about the local pregnancy center and all of their services should someone be facing an unexpected pregnancy? You could even do a porch drop with information about your local pregnancy center and all that they do in your community. So again, the idea here is to inform your community of everything that's available to them through this life-affirming entity to make Planned Parenthood or your local facility, abortion facility, obsolete, because they are, right? Pregnancy centers can help with everything a woman needs if she's facing an unexpected pregnancy. Free pregnancy tests, sonograms, options counseling, and then if the test is positive, they have all these resources. And I would just really encourage you to get to know your local pregnancy center, because once in a while there is a special need that they can't fill, but more often than not, they can help her find a job, find insurance, a place to live. A lot of these facilities are connected to maternity homes. If mom and dad are going to kick her out of the house, or she is worried about housing, even if she has other children, right? A lot of maternity homes will take women who also have another child or two with them already. And so the idea here is that they are, again, experts in ongoing crisis management. They're able to get her on her feet and then journey with her. But it just blows my mind that so many people arrive at the abortion facility not knowing that these types of facilities exist. And again, they outnumber our abortion facilities in this country more than 4 to 1. So go to optionline.org if you don't know your local facility, enter your zip code or your city or your state, and you'll pull up a whole list of them. And just make sure that you have these at your fingertips, and then you're informing the faithful wherever they are. Or again, a high traffic area in your community, throw up a flyer and inform people that this facility or a bunch of these facilities exist in your backyard and they are there to serve women in your community. Such a beautiful opportunity here. All right, number 5. So, my last point here is to teach the stakeholders in your community how to help a friend or neighbor choose life. One thing that hit me soon after the overturning of Roe versus Wade with the advent of the Dobbs Supreme Court decision is that now the proverbial sidewalk is everywhere. Meaning, whether we go to the sidewalk in front of an abortion facility or not, in today's day and age, as people of faith and conscience, we are all sidewalk advocates. We very well have a neighbor, a friend, an extended family member, at least at some point or another, who is going to face an unexpected pregnancy. And we need to be ready. We need to be ready to help them. The majority of abortions nowadays are chemical and quite often mail order. And so your neighbor's bathroom may be being turned into an abortion facility because that woman will take that first pill and it will starve the baby. It blocks the pregnancy hormone progesterone, which helps feed the baby and grow the baby, sustain the baby, right? So the baby will slowly begin to die, and then the second pill expels. And the testimony from these women who have walked through a chemical abortion regimen is that it is very traumatic. It's unbelievable to me that we can order these pills right to our doors now in pro abortion or pro life states. Even if your state is one that says, hey, these drugs and devices are not allowed to come across state lines, it's hard to regulate that. They can't go through every piece of mail, right? And even then, women can get bootleg pills from Mexico and India. I have actually had friends who have gone online and been able to do this, and they were not pregnant and they were delivered to their front door. And so we have to be at the ready, recognizing that a woman is either ordering these to her front door or she may be leaving our area for the next nearest abortion facility to either get a surgical or a chemical abortion. And this is whether we are in a pro abortion, state that allows abortion, or a pro life state. Just because abortion is illegal here in the great state of Texas, where I live, it does not mean that unexpected pregnancy has just gone up in smoke. It just means that there is a population that is amenable to travel. Yes, I do believe that the law is saving lives. It's getting people to think a little bit more about their behavior. We have heard this firsthand. A lot of women will choose life simply because it's not available, abortion's not available to them. But there is a population who's willing to travel. And so recognize that someone may be getting ready to drive 300 or 600 miles away to the next nearest abortion facility. In fact, about 20% of all women seeking abortion today are traveling across state lines. So we as pro-lifers, we have to know how to help a mom choose life. And we have to teach people around us how to have these conversations, at least enough in an intelligent way that we can connect her with our local pregnancy resource center. So if you're not somebody who does sidewalk advocacy, you're not doing what some of us do and going to abortion facilities and offering loving, life affirming alternatives on the regular, my best advice is to first meet that mother where she is, understand her perceived crisis. Is she afraid about putting food on the table, where she's going to live, continuing with work, school, or career, right? And so we want to just first understand and empathize with her situation. We want to understand how that's moving her towards abortion. And then the next thing is we want to offer to fill those needs in a life affirming manner. So maybe it is a hand up with rent. Maybe it is connecting her with her local maternity home. Maybe it is offering to help her research a school that will allow her to continue with college and have her baby, right? Either way, the pregnancy center is an expert in this. So getting her there is a great blessing. But either way, the last thing I'll say on this point is to offer to journey with her before and after the baby is born. And this is maybe the most important point, is recognizing, helping her to recognize that she is not alone, that she is not alone, and that you're going to be there for her no matter what she faces, and then following through on that. One of the moms that we just helped to cancel a late term abortion, a fully funded late term abortion across state lines from Texas to Washington, D.C. I still remember when she was on the phone and she was crying and saying, "You promise me you won't leave me. You promise me you won't leave me." And I told her, "Maria, I promise you I won't leave you." And it is true that about every few days, I still give her a call. "Maria, how are you doing? Do you need anything? How are you and the baby doing?" Right. And I followed through on that promise. We should. It makes a difference. Let me give you kind of a framework by which to have this conversation with a friend or a neighbor should they be facing an unexpected pregnancy. It's something we teach in our training. It's the mom baby God model. So, this comes from the understanding that you and I have things typically in the right or natural order. So, you could say that God comes first, right? Our creator, our savior, our God comes first, right? And then a mother puts her children before herself. So the right or the natural order is God, baby, mom. But a woman in crisis mode, a woman in self preservation mode has all of that inverted. She's thinking about herself first, not necessarily meaning to, but that's what happens when you're in crisis. You're thinking, I got to get out of this situation. I don't know how I'm going to survive. I mean, she's looking at present and future self, and she sees her life going up in smoke. So many of the moms that we meet on the sidewalk, they literally are living paycheck to paycheck. And the idea of adding a child to the family, it makes them feel like they're suddenly drowning and they're never going to get their head above water. And yes, that is not a good reason to take the life of a child. But when you start to understand the level of crisis sometimes that these women are dealing with and the pressure that they deal with from friends and family members, you can begin to have a heart for where they stand, right? And what they're dealing with. So, um, when a mom is dealing with this, she's got all that inverted mom, baby, God. So, we're going to start with mom. We love you. We care about you. We've got real help for you today, right? We're not even talking about baby yet. We're not even talking about God yet, because that's where her brain is. We have to run to meet her where she is, just like Christ has met us in our great need, and use a language that she can understand. And then we're going to we're going to love her into a decision for life. And then, so at one point, once we've addressed the perceived crisis and how we can help her, then we can transition. By the way, how far along are you? Oh, you're 8 weeks. Did you know your little one is doing backflips in your womb and, has a heartbeat and brain waves? And again, I wouldn't say it all like this. I would kind of slow it all down, but just say, your baby um, is precious, is irreplaceable, has a heartbeat, has brain waves, right? So maybe we're painting a picture of life, something that the abortion facility will not do for her. In fact, many times they're hiding the sonogram screen from her face, and she has no idea about fetal development. She doesn't understand. So by saying, "Hey, we care about you," it really is the door that unlocks the rest of the conversation. We love you, we care about you. And then she's more open to hearing about baby and then to God. So then we'll get to, by the way, do you have a faith? Do you pray? I don't believe it's by chance that we were supposed to have this conversation. You are not alone. We are here for you. We've got a community of support at our church or amongst our friends, right? And we're going to walk with you through this and make sure you have everything you need to be okay, to be successful. So that's what I want you to keep in mind is mom, baby, God. Start with her. She's the one making the decision. If we don't reach her heart, then abortion doesn't end in that moment and a life isn't saved. And then transition, paint a picture of baby, talk about baby a little bit, right? What does baby look like at that stage? You may need to research some life before birth facts if that's not something that you have at your fingertips. And then planting seeds of faith, right? Planting seeds of faith. But I've often found that when I just address mom and her perceived crisis, quite often she's willing to go to the pregnancy center with me. And so I tell people, as soon as someone is ready to go to the pregnancy center, try to cease the heavy conversation and just, make an appointment with her, offer to go with her, meet her over there. That can go a long way to making a solid decision for life, because once she gets to the pregnancy center and she partakes of holistic options counseling, they're going to give her all of her options and talk about the risks, with each one. But they're not going to sell her the death of her child. They're going to empower her and tell her she's enough, that she's loved, that she's not alone, and she can be an amazing mother, that she can still have her baby and have her dreams. Or if she feels like somehow she really can't do that, then she has the beautiful option of open adoption where she can place her child in a loving home, in a place and with parents that she chooses, and she can still be part of the extended family to see her child grow, right? This is a beautiful modern option that we have. And yeah, they're not going to tell her that she can just go and do this for $500, take the life of her child, and somehow her life is magically going to go back to normal. They're going to give her the truth, and they're going to do it with a lot of love. So we got to get her to the pregnancy center. And then when all of this happens, right in front of a sonogram, and she sees that evidence of life, I tell people I'm a decent talker, but I could never do what a sonogram does. And so if we can get her to a place that will show her the life of her baby in her womb, oh, there's nothing like it. So, all right. Well, closing thought here. We have so many practical tools at our fingertips to close abortion facilities. But in closing here, I actually want to give you the one that covers all of this. In fact, I didn't even want to put it in the list because it's the foundation of the list, and that is prayer. We are told in scripture that with God, all things are possible, and apart from Him, we can do nothing. I mean, how humbling is that? As the famous Dave Ramsey likes to say, you plus God equals unstoppable. God gives all of our plans life. We need his spirit to guide and direct us, to clear the way and part the sea. And so when you are working to topple the Goliath facility in your backyard, remember that the simple stones, so to speak, of prayer, outreach, love, help, and hope are enough to gradually conquer the darkness. It may be something that happens really fast, or it may be something that takes a while. But rest assured, you're on the winning team and your victory is in process. And meanwhile, you are making a practical and eternal difference in the lives of everyone who crosses your path as you love and serve them. That's what I want you to remember. These 5 simple things, opportunities, but they're nothing if we don't invite God into it. He's the one that makes all of these seeds grow and bear great fruit. And we are guaranteed that if we submit our plans to him, he will make our path straight. What we sow, we will reap. And if we do not give up, we will one day see a harvest. Hold on to that as you move forward in the mission for life that God has given you. All right. Well, thank you again so much for joining me for another episode of the Lauren Musica Show. We'll be back here next Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central on the Sidewalk Advocates for Life Facebook page, YouTube channel, or wherever you get podcasts. Thanks so much, everybody.